we are significantly late today, and we had to make sure that the setting works well, especially when you're coming to talk about something as controversial as a reshuffle. And so I know many of you watching that flyer there, yes, they're going to talk about that. The reshuffle finally landed, Winston.
Yeah, it did.
It's been 7 years coming.
Well, yeah, I mean, you probably may say 3 years coming because, I mean, of course, you've not had a major. Yes, you've not had a major.
First major.
You've not had a major.
Yeah.
But I want to judge a man based on the second term. Also, the first term, we knew the only time. I mean, the first step during the Boache Jackson, when the Boache Jackson was relieved of his position, then you had Kojo Ponkroma coming in, and you had Mustafa Hamid going to Zongo in an inner city development. So that wasn't a major reshuffle. This is the major reshuffle, I know. So under Akufo-Addo's tenure as president, this is the major reshuffle. But I say I am prepared to let the first term go and focus on his second term. But I mean, because of our time, I won't hide this. So this reshuffle has happened at the time that Akufo-Addo is on his last budget.
Yeah, already been done.
Already been done.
Decided.
You are 2 months into the implementation of your programs and policies for the year.
Unless, Adam's going to come with mid-year review that's going to significantly shake up things.
And nothing will happen. Unless you think that these persons who have been removed, or like the president would say, exited from their office, were not the right persons to implement these programs and policies. But I do not think it's because they are not the right persons to implement these programs. Some of them may not be the right persons. But I think also this is a reshuffle with an elections in mind. This is state of play. We don't mince words. It's a reshuffle with elections in mind.
You are right. And if that is the case, the only question to ask is, does this aid or detract from their chances? Does this help them win votes or cost them votes? Now, I asked that question of the former chief of staff, Udo Pieni, on PMS yesterday. Well, his answer was pretty vague, but he was absolutely emphatic that this is too little, too late, is problematic. He doesn't see the reason for it. It was needless because whatever harm it was had already been done, but politically wasted. And to that question of whether this helps them win votes, and I'm sure you're watching us, does this convince you that the NPP deserve another term because of this change? Does this do anything?
This may not, this wouldn't just convince you that NPP deserves another term, because, Adams, I'm not sure that, even though the president says immediately, I'm not sure that Ken Ofori-Atta has exited his office. It will take some time before he leaves.
Well, considering that he was informed of this at least a week before it was announced. At least, and I know it was before that.
But I know people who were informed a day before it was announced.
Okay. But definitely not Ken Ofori-Atta.
No, not Ken Ofori-Atta. But I know, okay, so for instance, I am sure that for those who took over, for those who've been asked to leave, they would have known, because I knew this, I think more than 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I knew of Amoah. I knew of,
even for Ken.
Ken, I knew he was going. Last year we were having that conversation. We talked about Ken. I also knew that, for instance, the roads minister was going. I knew that the health minister was going. So I knew these persons were leaving. Like, I didn't know that Mohammed Awal was going to leave. I didn't know. I just got to learn of that, I think, a day or two before the announcement. But this is the point for me. These persons who are coming in, for Ken Ofori-Atta's departure, for instance, you'd expect Mohammed Amin Adams to change some things.
Of course.
You'd expect him to do certain things when it comes to payments, for instance. Okay, will there be delay in payments? Will there not be delay in payment? Will there be insistence on, certain people having to do this or that? These are things you can expect to change. And if they change, all the better. But in today's Ghana, people say there is no money.
Yeah.
What is it that he is going to do to ensure there's money within the system?
So here's the thing about Amin Adam, though. I think he's possibly the most competent replacement you can find. He is a politician true and true. And as you know, he is one of those who significantly paid his dues.
Yeah.
Starting off in Tamale as a MC, even way before he even was recognized.
Yes, of course.
Under Akuffo. And yesterday, you hear the former chief of staff actually talk about his prowess and his.
That's
ability.
His boy. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm talking about. So and you make the point about politics and election. You have a finance minister, and here's the thing, interestingly, Winston. Over the last, Ofori-Atta had done 7 years. Before him, you had Setekbe, also there 3 years or so.
He was deputy minister. So he did 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Those two finance ministers before Adam were not politicians. Were not politicians.
Yeah.
They were finance guys who had helped the party in some way or shape, but then they were brought in. But this is the first time in over a decade.
Even Dufo was not your
exact typical politician.
But he knew how to play that.
Exactly, he knew how to play. First time in over a decade, they were having a proper politician as a finance minister, right? And I know Adam, he is competent. Apart from the fact that we knew him as energy policy, etc., he has over the period also gained a lot of capacity in that area of finance also, right? And so he comes to this with a political know-how, and then also he is very astute now in the area. And I think if this was planned all along, the president did well in terms of putting him there to at least learn the ropes to take over. I don't know whether that was part of the plan all along. I doubt. I have no doubt that he will deliver. I have no doubt. But the bigger question is what you asked, which is with less than, now you have done 2 months already, 9 months, less than 10 months to go. How much of a difference can he make? But for me, does he bring goodwill? Because a lot of economics in running a country is not necessarily also about the finances and the fiscal policy, but also the monetary policy. It's also about goodwill. The signal you give to the investment community. Does he bring that?
You see, the signal thing. And the signal bit. We're still monitoring the markets. I haven't seen that kind of a signal.
Elsewhere, if you change your finance minister,
you'd have seen that. You'd have seen that. And that's where I think.
And the thing is, the reason I brought this up, I just wanted to land on this, is we are going to go. In fact, we are in the process of still negotiating with external creditors. One of the biggest reasons why we're told that Ofori-Atta was good, because he played at Wall Street, etc. And so when he shows up, and look at the exhibition he's getting now, the president's advisor on economy, but also helping us with international markets, etc. Can Adam, new face, yes, had been there. Can he sit in the room now with the guys and get a bit of a buy-in, right, from those investors? Considering that he wasn't necessarily part of the creation of the mess, he was part of the latter stages. He was in part, but in terms of when this whole decision making that led to us. He wasn't part. When he sits with investors, how will that play into their thinking? And that for me is the key thing. But I have absolutely no doubt that he can do the job. Whether he has enough time to change anything substantially, I'm looking forward to the mid-year budget review.
You see, this is the point. Beg your pardon. If I were an investor and I saw Mohammed Amin Adam in front of me, at least it would be a bit of fresh air. Bring a bit of relief, for instance, that this is not the man. Because the first thing is this. Who wants to sit in front of a man who's believed to have caused the mess? I wouldn't sit in front of you.
Who is actually seeking to, in his actions, is imposing a haircut.
Yeah, because you've caused the mess. And you don't cause a mess and come back to me and say, negotiate with me. Yeah. And so, right from the get-go, it was difficult having Ofori-Atta lead our negotiations, for instance. So it's refreshing to note that you have a new person. But is it too little? Is it too late in the day? I think it's too late in the day now. So we have been able to, get with our external creditors. We have a moratorium. We're now dealing with, we've done with the Paris Club. We're now going to deal with the international capital market, for instance. We're now going to do with our Eurobond, those, debtors, for instance. That's where the problem is.
That's where the problem is.
That's where the problem is.
And for me, that will be his biggest hurdle.
Yes,
and trying to get over that.
But this is the other point also. Today, now that Ofori-Atta is gone, and Amin Adams taking over. Amin Adams, the first time I met him when I was at the University of Cape Coast, he had returned from abroad, and he had gone to do his petroleum economics and everything. Young man, with a lot of fire in him here and there, talking and defending the Akufo administration. You're right, he's a politician. He would do a few things right.
Yeah.
He would understand the politics. He's not going to sit somewhere and say it's not part of our manifesto, so I don't know, like Ofori-Atta would do. He would take advantage of certain things and actually move expenditure here and there to ensure that at the end of it all, things would work. And so he can actually call, for instance, because he's the finance, he can actually call a minister and say, oh, Charlie, you know what? I think in your ministry you have this budget or whatever, even if the money is not ready and there's a push for something, he can actually advise you that, okay, I think you can do this. Because he's a politician.
Yeah. Okay,
all he wants is to get the job done, and all he wants is to have people, to have his party win. And that's how come, when you have the likes of Yao Safo and Kojo Banredu, people were happy with them because these are politicians.
Yeah,
when you go to them and you talk to them, they understand where you're coming from. They understand the politics. Even though people will fault Setekwe, I think that's Setekwe. To be very honest, that's what an accountant would do under the circumstance, who's not a politician. Because if he's checking his funds and things that you don't have enough funds, he's not going to let you spend where you don't have the money. But of course, politicians would always spend. And so if you're going into an election, a must-win election, I think that the good thing you do is to bring in a politician as a finance.
But for me, here's a bigger picture from the president's reshuffle yesterday. One, I agree, it is too little, too late. But two, he did not do enough with this reshuffle to give Dr. Bawumia a better chance of upsetting the odds. And again, he's an incumbent, but considering the circumstances we are, if he wins, it will upset the odds. Because really, as we know, the NDC has the momentum on their side, right? In fact, the incumbent government is the underdog in this race, with where we are. And I think the president did not do enough to help Bawumia's cause this year. Why? First, this happened exactly a week after the vice president told us his vision and what he wanted to do. A few things, you see contradictions between his vision and this reshuffle and what this reshuffle signals. One, the man told us he can run this economy, this country, with less than 50 people in 2025, which is literally, 11 months away. 11 months away. He's saying, if you elect me, I can run this country with less than 50 people. Now we have a president who now has at least a week having heard that. Assuming he didn't know before it was read, you've heard that. Goes ahead with a reshuffle that maintains the size of government, the number of ministers at 86, right? That immediately tells you, considering that has been one of the most contentious issues for Labour, for the clergy, for, of course, after the political parties, their job is to oppose, but also for the general public. That has been what civil society. Everybody had said, reduce the size of government. Considering that clamor, considering that you've had your vice president say, I can run it with 50, the least Akufo-Addo could have done was come close to that number.
Hold on. Let me answer that before you go on. But Dr. Bawumia says he was a driver's mate, didn't he?
Yeah.
He said on the day that he was elected, he said, I have my own vision, didn't he? Didn't he also say during his speech that he has his own vision? In fact, I wasn't expecting Akufo-Addo to do anything different.
To aid his cause.
No. In fact, Akufo-Addo has aided him.
By
showing that he's different from me. Akufo-Addo has aided Bawumia by showing that Bawumia is different.
Is that
because if he had gone ahead to reduce it, what would Bawumia say?
No, but the question we started with, you say this reshuffle is with elections in mind.
Yes, but
if it's elections in mind, remember that the vice president is going to run on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party.
But with elections in mind, that's why he's telling everybody that the man is different from me.
Yeah, but if
I am not going to start, I'm not going to start implementing his ideas. He's different from me. I have my own ideas.
Okay.
So see the difference now. He has his own ideas. let him go ahead.
I see your point.
Yes,
I see your point.
Give him a chance.
But let's think about this conundrum in the context of votes. Okay. Yes, there's Bawumia, who is a factor in how people may decide whether to vote for the party or not, because of course, if you like him, you vote for him. But can you detach Bawumia from the party?
No, you can't.
He's the leader of the party. So if you are unhappy with the way the governing party has managed the affairs of the state, you are more likely to punish Dr. Bawumia for being part of this mess, right? One of the biggest criticisms against the government is that the size is too huge, right? So, yes, I hear your point that they're creating a distinction between the two of them.
Yes.
Except that what the president has done will be punished by Labour. Will be punished by members of the clergy who have demanded a downsizing. Civil society folks will also have a say that will influence votes, right? In other words, if you really stretch it, the outcome of this would actually negatively affect Bawumia's chances on December 7. And what's the point of making the case that I'm different from him if his actions will cost you the elections in December 7?
No, but you see, Akufo-Addo doesn't believe in small governments. You know it. He started 110. And at a point, increased it to over 126.
Yeah. But you remember, one of the arguments the NDC had made on the back of Bawumia's speech was that the things he wants to do next year, he should do it now.
Yes,
and that he is at best a co-pilot.
It is because the NDC knows that he cannot do it now. That's why they are telling him to do it.
But you see, if Akufo-Addo had come close to 50, if Akufo-Addo had come close to 50, at least.
So you see, I am saying, if Akufo-Addo had come close to 50, then you say, Bawumia.
But he has no influence.
You say the man doesn't. Yes, the man doesn't listen to you. No, that's not what he said anyway. But your followers have given the impression that you are only an advisor. But it would take a man who listens to you to actually all of a sudden change your numbers to these. I mean, change his numbers to your numbers. So look, Akufo-Addo has done him a great service by maintaining his position. So,
is it a great service or a great disservice?
See,
when you look at the context of votes.
So you see, this is the position. I mean, I can see what Bawumia and his team are trying to do. They are trying to say, don't judge us by Akufo-Addo standards. Judge us on our own merits. And so listen to what we are promising, listen to what we want to do, find out if it's feasible. If it is, give us the chance, because that's what we want to do.
Flip side to what you just said. Who had in government had been the biggest hindrance to Dr. Bawumia's thoughts and policies holding sway when it comes to government policy decisions on the economy?
Some had suggested, a lot of people have suggested that Ofori-Atta.
Fantastic. What has happened to him?
He's gone.
Who has replaced him?
Amin Adams.
Who is Amin Adams most loyal to?
Dr. Bawumia.
I'm done.
But as for Ofori-Atta, he was always going to go. He would have gone. Because
no, put the two together. He would have gone. Yeah, but the question of who was going to replace him.
Ken would have gone. But
who was going to replace him? But the president took him out and brought in a Bawumia loyalist.
No, but this is the difference in Ken's situation. If you maintain Ken, the point is that why are you still keeping the man who's credited with the mess that we have?
But it kept him for at least close to 2 years in spite of the internal opposition.
I had told you what Ken was waiting for. He has done it. He's going. You know what he was waiting for. I told you.
What was he waiting for? Just for the benefit of...
I told you that he was waiting for the last, the second tranche of the money. For disbursements to be made to those who deserve, to the various sectors. He's disbursed it. He's going. That's it. But I have also told you, and this is the point, because people will now go around and say, Ken Ama Yelusu. So right now, the person, so this is it.
But the damage has already been done.
If he had removed
him, look, he must have just kept him there. He should have just kept him there.
As for the damage.
Because if you listen to Andy Appiah-Kubi on Top Story yesterday, he says, listen, we wanted this a year and a half ago. He's bringing it now.
I don't, as for Andy Appiah-Kubi, I don't want to.
He's bringing it now. He says it's a little late, but not too late. Those are his words. A little late, but not too late. In other words, he's not as enthused about the change of Ken Ofori-Atta now as he would have been if it happened a year and a half ago. And if he, a party man, and I know why you're disappointed with him, you can say that, you can elaborate on that. If he's not as enthused, those who are not as aligned, they, especially floating voters, will not be excited by this late change of the finance minister. And therefore, there'll be no reward. There'll be no reward to the government. And of course, by extension, to Dr. Bawumia, for these changes happen.
See, Ken Arop, I mean, was going to go. He should have left earlier. We all would say he should have left earlier. But what's the point? He's gone anyway. The people who said Ken must go, when they had a chance to let Ken go, what did they do? They did not take part in the vote. So let them not come and say, oh, he should have gone earlier. No. You had a chance to get him out. And that's it. So end of story. You had a chance to get the man out. You did not get him out. Don't come back and tell us that it's late in the day. Yes, it is late, but you failed all of us. So as for those people, I don't want to talk about, those people who, I don't know, Apia Kubi and his team that, let all of us down.
Well, what's your issue with them?
No, they let all of us down. So I'm not going to focus on
They didn't push us hard.
No, they didn't push us hard that we expected them to. The point is that Ken today is gone. But the other question, the bigger question though, is so when will he leave finally?
Oh, so he's left but not left.
He's still in office. Even though the president said with immediate effect. How immediate is the immediate effect? We must know. When Ken departs.
Seems like you know something that I don't know.
I know that Ken is still at post today. He's not gone yet.
It takes time.
Oh, it takes time. Okay. What actually feeds into the agenda that people say, oh, this is just a small screen. So he,
So I say you saying that Ken will be, controlling things in the background?
Oh, no. He will. Well, now he's going to be an envoy, advisor on the economy. So you take your advice. Ken is advising the president. If that's anything to go by, who will the president listen to? Let's see how it goes.
Well, anyway, listen. There's a lot to pick as far as from the reshuffle. The bones are there, and we're going to see a bit more. I believe from what we've been told, right? We should expect a bit more reshuffling this time in the state enterprises, right? Some CEOs will lose their jobs as a result of the government. Of course, we've seen the MMDCs already reshuffled, and you say all this has been done.
It's an election thing.
Okay, so does that convince you to vote for the MPP? You should tell us. Enjoy the rest of your evening.